Good morning, guys. It is Saturday, January 3rd, 2026. This is Bathrobe Business. I'm Georgi Oganov. I'm neither in my bathrobe nor am I in my usual office, but given today's big news, I felt like I had to make a video, and it's been about 6 months since I have done that. So I kind of want to talk about the invasion of Venezuela, greater market implications, and what it's going to mean for the next year of financial and business news. I'm going to dive in more into politics than I usually do. Obviously, I've touched on politics here and there in the past, but I think big news like this, it is going to have major implications on the economy, on the stock market, on day-to-day business. So I feel like I have to comment. So before that, a bit of housekeeping. This is the first video I've done in about 6 months. The last video I did was right before my wedding, and I'm sorry if the camera's shaky. I'm just in my car. I just got out of the gym, and so my working arms, it's a little bit shaky today, so I apologize. But this is the first video in 6 months, and the last video was right before the wedding, and then we had family in town, and then they were in town after the wedding, and then we went on the honeymoon, and then we came back, and we put our house on the market, and so we're still in the midst of that. I'll talk about that probably in a different video because we felt the market forces like everyone else did, but I'm not going to cover that today. So I'm finally coming back to this now. I don't know if I will be as regimented with my videos as I used to be. I used to do 5 days a week, and then I got married. I guess me and my then girlfriend became more and more serious with the plans to get married, and it dropped down to about 4 days a week. And then now family life, it's becoming probably going to be once a month at this point. I don't know. I do want to keep this channel alive because I think I have value to add. So, I mean, that's a bit egotistical, but it's true. And just to kind of toot my own horn, humble brag, everything I did say would happen kind of did. I told you that the economy was going to continue to experience inflation, and it did. Gold was going to continue to skyrocket. I told you to buy gold back when it was still $1,800 an ounce. I really put the pedal to the metal once it started hitting the 24 to 2,600 range, because historically that is record breaking. And then since then, it has just been on a trajectory up like a rocket. It hit 45 and change, I think, last week. Dipped down a little bit this week, but it's going to continue to rise. I was talking about $5,000 an ounce before even Goldman Sachs was, and we are on track to hitting that. Now, I did say in my previous videos, when it hits $5,000 an ounce, I'm probably going to tell you to pause, but given some of the recent activity, I think 6,000 is the new pause number. So I think it's going to continue to rise to about 6,000. Some of my other market predictions, I told you that Bitcoin was not stable and it was going to come falling down, and that has already begun. I think one of the major problems with Bitcoin, what most people, even those that believe in crypto and blockchain, don't seem to understand is that it is technology, and like everything else, it can become obsolete. And the biggest component of Bitcoin that makes it viable, that makes it financially sustainable, is the fact that it's blockchain. That's it. And now that we have stable coins and the government is full throttle behind those, I think there is going to be a form of CBDC, even if not directly backed by the federal government, essentially backed by all the major financial firms and banks, essentially creating a CBDC. There will be no purpose for Bitcoin. Bitcoin had to crawl so that stable coins could walk. So that's why I keep telling people to get out of Bitcoin. I don't think it's sustainable and viable. So those have been my predictions. My predictions for the new year. Why Venezuela, I believe, is a major turning point. When did Rome become an empire versus a republic? It was when Caesar marched on Rome, essentially. And I feel like Venezuela is that today. Very different than what happened with Iraq or Afghanistan before it. We're not going in to install a government. We're not really going in with a strong pretense, like we're going to stop terror or we're going to, bring democracy to the region. We're pretty much going in with old school kind of imperial gusto, saying we're just going to run it. If you heard today's press conference from the Trump administration, I did listen to most of it. That's essentially what Trump said. He said we're going in and we're going to focus on running it, and American oil companies are going to be in there pumping oil and distributing it. It was essentially, this is Rome, this is Napoleon, this is Alexander the Great. This is old school conquering. This is something we haven't seen since pre-World War II. It's a major turning point. And the language used was very aggressive. Coaxed with jokes and humor, as Trump usually does, but the intent behind it is very different than what we've seen in previous administrations. In addition, there was talks about Cuba, of Colombia. I think both are very viable. I would put my money more so on Cuba than Colombia for right now, just because, Marco Rubio, there's a strong sentiment against Cuba with Cuban Americans. I think there's more of underlying foundation there than there is with Colombia, more of a precedent. But again, with a lot of these predictions, I'm not trying to be Nostradamus. I think one of the problems with predictions is I'm not trying to tell you exactly what happened, but I'm trying to tell you if this, then that. And kind of with the theme of what I've talked about on this show is inflation is going to continue. We are full throttle moving forward with empire. We're going to be, invading other countries. At least with Venezuela, we're going to be running this thing for a while, if not indefinitely. This could become essentially a new U.S. colony. You can call it a territory, you can call it a state, you can call it whatever you want. This is going to be new American imperialism, a new manifest destiny. And that's going to require lots and lots of money. And the Trump administration isn't going to tax in the traditional sense. Obviously, tariffs are still on the table, but even that, there's been a strong pullback because of the effects it has had on the economy. So the only way you're going to do that is to spend. Trump has wanted Jerome Powell out for a while. That's not a secret. He's got new guys lined up to replace him, and those new guys are going to come in, and yeah, they'll probably cut interest rates here or there, but more than anything else, they're going to have quantitative easing, which is going to be just a backstop for all U.S. bonds so that they can keep printing indefinitely. You're going to see larger budgets. You're going to see major inflation. Now, I'm going to tout gold again, double down on it even from just a few minutes ago. I think gold is going to be the only safe harbor against all this inflation, because we've even seen here this year that real estate can be greatly affected by the greater market and by interest rates as well. So I don't think real estate, obviously any asset that is prone to experience inflation is a safe harbor, but I don't think anything kind of has the security that gold does. Some people will say silver. I've never been a huge silver backer. If you look historically at silver, it's just not a great performing asset. This year, yes, it's hit $60 an ounce. It's hit $70 an ounce. There's some interesting stuff happening with China. That's not my area of expertise. I'm not going to talk about it. I don't think silver is worth it. I think you're better off buying smaller denominations of gold than you are buying large denominations of silver. So I would avoid it. Obviously, crypto is not a safe reserve, and that leaves very little. Now, there's other stuff like luxury markets, watches, cars, things like that. Again, above my wheelhouse. If you can make it work, great. But as kind of been the focus of this channel for probably the last 2 years, it's going to be to try to protect yourself against major inflation. One final prediction, and like I said, I'll cover a few more videos probably here in the next month, so I'm going to kind of do them Peter Zion style, where I'm probably just doing it for my car and just giving you kind of greater market trends and where I think this is going. Last prediction is we are going to probably experience an economic crisis within the next year or so. Again, I'm not Nostradamus. I'm just kind of trying to read the tea leaves here. Sorry, I've got a call coming in. Let me decline it. It's actually my brother. So major market issue. When that happens, if it happens, maybe it won't, but what the idea I want you to get behind is Trump's entire second administration has been backing big business. Today's invasion of Venezuela is very much a sign of that. He talked ad nauseum about how U.S. oil companies are going to make a lot of money. All of the stimulus, all of the focus of regulation and of federal spending has been on AI. And we're not talking about grassroots companies. We're not talking about new firms. We're talking about big firms, NVIDIA, OpenAI, Tesla, Tesla, Grok, whatever you want to call it, Elon Musk's little umbrella. Similarly, I talked about this earlier in my channel when it first started to happen, was when he elected his cabinet. The person he elected to the SBA was pretty incompetent. Now, why that's important is the SBA is the Small Business Administration. It is kind of the bank that all small businesses use for any type of acquisition, from business acquisitions to real estate acquisitions and equipment. This is kind of the backbone. It is the Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae of businesses. If Trump really wanted to stimulate American industry and revitalization of American manufacturing, that is where you should be focusing, not the big firms, because innovation always starts small and then grows big. From day one, he was backing the big boys. That has continued and that will continue. So if something happens big in the market, if we experience a crash, what you're going to see is Trump backing the big boys again. And this time, like '08, you'll see it with major banks, but something different than '08, I think you're going to see it with private equity firms in a major way. Since '08, private equity firms have bought up many businesses that were traditionally small businesses. Your HVAC businesses, your construction businesses, your carpet cleaners, things like car dealerships, even things like that. Stuff that used to be run by, mom and pop operations are now venture capital backed. And when those go under, when there's a major economic crash and you're going to be facing an economy where many thousands, I don't know what number, but a countless number of people are going to be unemployed. Your average construction worker, your plumber, your HVAC guy, your landscaper is going to have the threat of unemployment. The U.S. government is going to have to come in and be the backstop and bail out all of those venture capital firms. Now, this is bad for multiple reasons, because like in '08, we saw that didn't actually change anything and it created greater market inequality. But also, it's going to be paying back these firms for bad decisions that they made and price gouging that they've experienced caused in the market. So you're going to see greater wealth inequality result from it, and greater focus on larger businesses. So that is why I say, to protect yourself against this kind of inequality, against this kind of inflation, against this kind of instability, you need a stable currency like gold. So I will say that until I no longer believe it's true, but you should be investing in gold, and that is how I think you protect yourself against the coming crises. So that's pretty much it. That's the video of the day. I hope you guys found it interesting. It's good to be back. Like I said, I'll try to do this more often, but prepare yourself, because I think it's going to be a very, very bumpy ride. So sorry, doom and gloom. Bye.